All right, we now have joining us on the Soccer Hour on 810 KSFO, brought to you by your NorCal Honda dealers. It is one of the newest members of the San Jose Earthquakes. It is Ian Harkes. Ian, what's going on, man? How are you doing?
I'm good, Ted. Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, man, it is. It's going to be fun. I like the obviously the head coach Bruce Arena is a legend. He went and got you guys from New England for a reason. I'm just curious. What was the process of finding out you were coming to San Jose?
Yeah, it honestly, our season ended. Wasn't really sure. We have like your end of the year meetings with the team. Obviously, we were with the New England Revolution and was focused on going into the next season, but it's a long off season. So then you start to put the feelers out. There's interest and anything like that, and certain teams come in. Once he got the job, everything, he kind of got in touch with my agent and was saying, there was interest and if I was interested as well. And I was absolutely, my time was cut very short with Bruce Arena the first time, but I had about 3.5 weeks with him when I came back from Scotland, and honestly, the best 3.5 weeks of of my career since. So I was very excited for the chance.
Tell me about Bruce, because I was talking to Dave Romney about this, and I was saying people always seemingly overlook his tactical acumen because they talk about him just being kind of the king of good vibes. So what was your experience like?
Yeah, it's honestly it's a little bit of both because I think he's just been in it for so long that he knows how to really unlock a team, and just really find the right combinations on the pitch and then also give players freedom to be, the best that they can be. So I think there's a lot of those combinations, but yeah, a lot of times people overlook how much he's been in for a long time and winningest coach in MLS and beyond. So I think, you can't understate how tactically good he is.
No, it's pretty interesting to watch just his teams over the years, and obviously he knows how to make it work. So it's hard to argue with. I guess for the players that exist in San Jose who haven't played for Bruce Arena, what would you tell them about him?
I think he's personally he's a old school guy, New Yorker, very funny, very dry. But as a coach, I mean, he just finds ways to win. He, like I said, he puts players, I think, that in the right positions and talks to them about how they can get the best out of themselves, and finds those right combinations on the pitch. And you can see that with his team. So I'm excited for it because, you can see San Jose has a lot of talent already there. And the last year, everyone has, down seasons. We experienced one ourselves in New England too. But it doesn't really reflect on the players. And I think he can really unlock a lot of potential with his team.
What did your dad say about you getting to play for Bruce Arena the first time around?
He was, excited for me because I was just, the opportunity came when I was trying to get back in the league and coming back from Scotland. So he was just like, look, it kind of spoke for itself where the club was at. New England was second in the East, and I was just, excited to be joining up with, a great group of players. So he was like, you throw Bruce in there as well. It's a great recipe. So he was excited for me.
That's cool. How was playing in Scotland? Because I just, like I look at the way that like a Johnny Russell has played so much of his career, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of physical, aggressive play, which actually probably, aligns with MLS. But what was your experience like playing over there?
Yeah. I mean, Johnny Russell is a legend. You can see how well he's done. Ryan Gauld coming over and now Stuart Armstrong. But the over there, it's a lot of, sometimes direct play, physicality I had to get adjusted to when I first got over. And not only just actual physicality and getting into, duels and everything, but more of just the fitness up and down. It's a lot of that, especially, I try and be a box to box midfielder. And it brought a lot of good out of me because you had to do it on both sides. So yeah, it kind of hardened me over there and it brought me back, and it was exciting to get back into MLS because the pace is different for sure. But it's a good kind of change.
I often, people talk about the different ways that footballers are developed in the United States versus how they are developed across the pond. What did you notice? I guess like what was the difference in your skill set or other Americans versus watching how the players, the European players had developed, and what were the strengths about their game that were not the same as yours, and then vice versa?
Mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I think when I got over there, I had the technical ability. I always try to pride myself on first touch and technique and everything. So that wasn't too much of an issue to fit in, and I had a bit, an engine to go and play and work hard. And that's all, you get found out, especially over there. You get found out anywhere, as in the MLS as well, if you're not taking plays off and everything. But there's more of a whole team collective. No one can really, take anything off, no plays off because you get punished. And you're seeing that now in the MLS a lot too, where these teams you give players a yard and or less than a yard, and they're punishing you with how experienced and how good the tens are in this league and things like that. So, but it's more of a sometimes five attack, five defend in the MLS, and everything in Scotland was just full on everyone. But I think the talent level in the MLS is probably higher. It's just more of the grittiness and everything that probably catches up in Scotland and different places in Europe. I didn't have a chance to go and play other places.
How was living in Scotland in general? I as someone who appreciates history, I would like to get over there and check out Scotland and Ireland and UK and just see some of the different aspects of the culture. And I can't say no to good Scotch, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would look up the various regions and the different spirits as well. But was it a fun or interesting experience?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about if you want to get over. I got some places for you. But the Scotch, the golf, the people are
Yeah.
incredible. I think it's just they're good people and have just a great outlook on life, other than, when it's raining and they're miserable, which is 90% of the time. But it's a beautiful country full of yeah, tons of history. And my wife and I really enjoyed it. And she was playing for Celtic over there at the time, which obviously is one of the biggest clubs. So she was the baller, and we had a great time over there, met some great people.
Yeah, with the golf, I bet you now play in the United States and you're just happy to not see any pot bunkers, right?
Yeah, no, I tried to get into it over there and I'm still terrible. So I'll need to. I know Dave Romney's a big guy, golfer, so he'll
Oh,
he'll
is he?
need, yeah, yeah, he'll need to teach me a few things.
Nice, dude. I Romney is a very cool dude, and it's interesting to watch. Just different fan bases talk about watching him. I know that fans of the Galaxy were upset when he was no longer with the team,
Yeah,
and fans with the Revolution were upset that he was no longer with the team. He just seems to exude good vibes himself.
he is. Yeah, he's a great guy and also just so consistent. He's an Iron Man. Everywhere he goes, he's been playing a long run of games and always looks after himself. So he's a proper pro.
So the Earthquakes, obviously, we didn't have a good season last year. You may have heard the news. It was it was not great. So
Yeah.
how do you come in and help turn things around? Like that's a tough task to be to have that placed upon your shoulders, but also you were brought in for a reason.
No, absolutely. Everywhere you go, I think my first thing is that every club I play for, I get, 100% like all in commitment in terms of the community, the playing for the fans, playing for the team that I'm now a part of. And there's a hunger that you have when you have a down season, and I've experienced plenty, and you want to go and right those wrongs the next season. So myself, Mark Anthony, Dave, we're all, really excited to join. Like I said, I think a talented group that maybe just certain things didn't click. And when you start to get into that cycle of a down season, it's easy to just start to believe the next one's going to go wrong as well. So I think with the fresh start, with the new coach, with his vision and everything, I'm hoping, you can't make any promises, but I think we're going to hit the ground running, and everyone's got something to prove. So
Yeah,
exciting to be a part of.
I'm trying to think. Did you play at PayPal Park previously? Because the East Coast schedule is so weird. I know DC was out here in 2018. Did you play in that game?
Yeah, that was I was in that game. I was gonna say that was the last time I was here, and I think we lost that one 3-1. And I think I came on last 20 minutes, but I remember being like, this stadium's really cool. The planes are going by and
Right.
everything. And obviously being out in California, I remember being back then, I was like, oh, it'd be a cool place to play. So it's funny that it's now happening.
Yeah, no, and also as you're in SoCal right now, there is an In-N-Out Burger across the street from the stadium. So after a practice or a game, if the post game meal wasn't enough, you can go get another couple thousand calories across the street.
Yeah, we'll see if it's off limits or not, or if there's certain fines in the with the team.
Who
Uh,
do you know any of the other dudes on the Earthquakes besides the guys that you obviously know from New England?
I'm actually bummed because Jeremy Ibobise was, I think I don't know if he's returning or not. His contract got declined. I'm not sure what's going on there, but
Yeah,
played against him when I was younger. Was
right.
looking forward to getting out here. Obviously it helps when you're you're coming with your other teammates, so that's a plus, but I don't know too many of the other guys on the team. So yeah, excited to get in and amongst the group and get into preseason.
No, it's a good group of dudes. So, did you play against Jabo when he was a Duke and you were a Demon Deacon?
Yeah, yeah. So we were East Coast. I mean, we grew up playing a little bit before that against each other, and
Oh,
then
okay.
yeah, he ended up going ACC schools, and yeah, he was always one we had to watch. So it was good to play against him.
I always ask the guys who have the collegiate soccer background because so much of the game now is predicated on the academy system that
I
I
know.
just I worry about college soccer because I think it's a great pathway for a lot of guys. Like not everybody, I mean, it's insane how skilled kids are these days, but not everybody's going to be ready to make that transition at 15, 16, 17 years old. Like some guys do need those college years. And I think that's I don't want it to be overlooked in the development of the American player.
I know it is. It's getting to a tough point where I think it's like you don't want it to go one way or the other, but it is almost getting maybe left behind just because of the appeal of just the pathway to pro is just going, straight to MLS next and all of those.
Yeah.
Which, all power to those players. You have the talent and they're going to make it. I think it's hard when you're that age and you're trying to figure out, am I good enough yet? And you want to kind of back yourself. But I knew for myself I wasn't ready to, yeah, make that jump. And college helped out a lot in terms of maturing as a player and as a person because you throw on school and classes and making everything else and it helps you prepare for life. So I'm happy my mom pushed me than my dad to stay in it, and they obviously both wanted me to get a good education and everything. So
No,
yeah.
the education does not hurt in the slightest, especially with the schools that a lot of the players come from. We're talking to guys
Yeah,
Wake Forest and Duke and Stanford and Cal and UCLA. Those are not bad schools to have a background with in general. But
yeah. And the
it's
teams they're
interesting
playing
though,
with.
just because. Do you ever think about, man? I wonder what my career would be different if the infrastructure of academy systems that exists today was like it was for you when you were 13, 14 years old, because even in that short of a time frame things have radically changed.
I know. Yeah, it has. And no, it's easy to look back and say like what could have been, or I always think myself like when you go over, like you said, to Europe and you're playing with kids that are turning pro at 16, 17, 18, and maybe they don't get too many appearances with the first team, but they're in and amongst it all the time. And that's only going to make you, grow and develop. And I was, kind of privileged to play at Wake Forest where we had a really good group. I was playing
Mhm.
with the likes of Jack Harrison and we had Michael Gamble, Ja'Cory Hayes, but then also a senior class that had a lot of guys go pro. So, and Jay Vidovich. So it felt like a pro atmosphere where you can kind of compare it to, like some of the academies and things. So it's interesting, but yeah, it's exciting as well to hopefully find the next generation of talent for the US.
So, like you alluded to earlier, long off season for you right now. Obviously, MLS's season just ended, and the Galaxy are the champs. And you know, well, I guess where are you in your process of getting ready for the next season? Are you doing mostly like off the ball, weight room type stuff, or are you starting to ramp it up?
Yeah, kind of combination of everything. And I think it was almost like over in Scotland sometimes we were only off for like 4 weeks. So
Yeah,
you don't lose much fitness and then you're back to it, and over here I had to kind of reset and everything and kind of like taper and then bring it back up. So now I'm kind of ramping it up now. A lot of running, gym work and everything. Just got in touch obviously with the San Jose guys now so I can get on that program and everything because before we were just using off season from New England and
right.
there's a lot of crossovers, but it's good to now get into their system and everything. And yeah, I'm just kind of itching to go. I'm like not bored, but I'm missing, soccer for sure.
Yeah. What's the hardest part for you? Is it just your lungs, or the other one that I've talked to guys about is they say that when you first get back to doing scrimmages and stuff, you just feel the banging around a little bit more. Whereas when it's July, if you come out of a physical game, you don't really feel it the next day the same way.
Yeah, yeah. I think your recovery is so much quicker when you're at like your top fitness. But Yeah, it's probably just getting lungs back. I mean, for the most time, you keep like a base. I feel like everyone nowadays, it's like you can't let yourself kind of go too much. But
That's much harder to get back into shape.
yeah, you kind of get left behind now. So yeah, just the lungs, and then honestly, just stuff on the ball. Once you get back to it and you're playing and passing all day long, groins, hips are all gone. So you're like, you have to kind of keep that in the swing of things.
What's the area that you're still looking to improve in your game, or do you even specify certain things when you go into an off season? Or are you just still in the mode of I just want to be better overall?
No, absolutely. I love to, reassess after the year and the one area for me, I think I like to pride myself as being a box player, but in the final third, really adding those goals, the late runs to try and get into the box and add more goals and assists. This past year in New England, I kind of was happy about my final balls. I found I had a lot of double assists of setting up plays with the final ball to kind of cut through here, and so I'm trying to continue to add that. And like I said, just everything around the box, getting shots off and being a threat and danger in the final third.
How old were you when you were asking your dad for an honest assessment as opposed to asking him to be dad?
I don't know if I asked for it or if I got it anyways. And I got it from mom, I got it from dad, I got it from grandpa. My whole family is soccer, so there was no escaping it. And they were always good with me in terms of balancing it and being too hard. And do you want the advice or not? And I
Yeah.
think nowadays it's more like he'll come and say like, hey, look, I know you know this or whatever, but let's just a refresher, let's go back over this, or you can do this, look to do this. So I always love that I can go to them for that.
It's I can relate to that in the sense that my dad is a broadcaster. He's semi-retired now, but I grew up going to all of his broadcasts and such. My brother does it too. So
Wow.
you when you have that resource, you can kind of go and be like, okay, be blunt. Tell me about this, or this. And other people could view that as, man, that'd be hard, especially if you're younger or you're at a, critical point in your career. But it's nice to know that, like, hey, you got somebody who loves you who's not going to give you any BS. They're going to give you exactly what you need to hear, even if you don't necessarily want to hear it all the time.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's hard to then not get defensive right after you ask it. You think you're doing a good job and say, hey, what do I need to do? And they come back right away and you're like, all right, well, but that's pretty cool. I didn't know you're all in the industry too.
Yeah, no, the joke is that the Ramey men can talk about sports and very little else. But we do it. To give you a little bit of background on me, my dad was a former broadcaster for the Earthquakes back in the NASL days, from 1976 to 1984 when the league folded, the old NASL, and then when MLS started back in 1996, he was doing the TV for him again for a few years there. And me and my brother and my dad, we were all at the first ever MLS game because that was in San Jose. Bruce Arena coaching DC United at the time with
That's right.
then the San Jose Clash. I don't
Yeah.
even know why they ever went away from the Earthquakes name, but I guess that Nike execs from 30 years ago, I'll take it up with them. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
the I like to tell people that I have watched as much MLS as any human either could or should. I'm not sure which is the right
Should
answer,
or
but
should. Yeah. That's amazing though. Did your dad cross over with George Best at all?
oh yeah, no, my dad talks about
Wow.
George Best being in back in the day with the Earthquakes and said that with he always talks about him being called the fifth Beatle, because he was so
Yeah.
famous and an English player. But he'll talk about how good George was going to the clinics and working with the kids back in the day, and said that no one was better, and that he was a legend everywhere he went, and people would show up. And he talks about broadcasting games in which Pele played and stuff. We actually had a dog named Pele growing up, a black lab. And I asked my dad, I was like, why did you name him that? He was like, because Pele, he wasn't an earthquake. He's like, well, he was good with his feet, so it made sense.
That's amazing. I love that. It's insane to, have those players be in the US, and you talk about it being such a young league, obviously the MLS, but just in terms of the history of those players being over here and on US soil,
No,
is incredible.
it's wild. And no, I like they're just like the stories you hear about, like guys back in the day going over to take a corner kick and grabbing a beer from a fan and taking a swig and then going and
Yeah.
setting it up.
Get a little cigarette and
Yeah, the old, yeah, the stories about that, like guys just burning heaters after games and stuff, like all the
yeah,
European
yeah.
players. It's a little different now, but well, Ian, man, I'm stoked that you're here in San Jose. I look forward to you getting to the Bay Area. I'm sure you'll be sick of me in a couple months' time, but for now, man, welcome to San Jose, and we'll talk soon. All right.
Thank you so much. Great to meet you.